Hey friends, it's Just the Gems. I'm Brandon. The Trails series has been going strong for more than 20 years now, and I've been talking about it quite a bit. Last week, I even decided to light a stick of dynamite and drop it down my shorts by daring to point out what I consider to be the Trails series' biggest flaws. But no more of that. I'm going to stay on the straight and narrow, only talking about topics that are completely and utterly non-controversial. In that spirit, today I want to talk about how you should begin playing the Trails series if you're completely brand new. That's right, in the year of our Lord 2025, we are getting a remake of the very first game in the series, Trails in the Sky First Chapter. And that means we're looking at a fantastic opportunity for new people to jump on board while completely dodging the where to begin the Trails series discourse. However, just because a Sky remake is imminent, does that mean it's really the best option for a newcomer? Let's talk about the pros and cons of starting with the Trails in the Sky First Chapter remake over the original Trails in the Sky. I don't know if you've seen the trailers. I mean, I guess you're looking at one right now, but wow, man, this remake looks good. It honestly could be the best looking game Falcom has ever put out. This is a glow up on the level of, well, not Final Fantasy VII to Final Fantasy VII Remake, that's asking way too much, but it's big. It's a sexy game. The light anime-style cell shading really makes everything feel so vibrant, and traversing the world looks like it's going to be better than it's ever been. Maybe even better than in the later Trails games. I'm only going off the trailers, but it looks to me like you move seamlessly from the overworld into towns, and if that's the case throughout the whole game, that is incredible. There are few things that make me happier than a seamless world in a JRPG. I was super happy when Trails Through Daybreak had seamless transitions from a city into a building, and this is so much more than that. I also greatly prefer the over-the-shoulder camera of the modern Trails games compared to the three-quarter perspective in the first 5 Trails games, so I have a feeling I'll be doing a lot more off-the-beaten-path exploring than I did in the original game. And aside from exploration, there's the issue of gameplay. Sky First Chapter Remake is bringing us a refined version of the gameplay that began in Trails Through Daybreak, meaning it pretty much flawlessly merges action and turn-based battles. That's a feat that I wouldn't have believed was possible before Trails did it, and getting to play as these characters who I already love in this world that I'm already crazy about with gameplay like in the later games is a dream come true. Seriously, the action combat just makes running around so much more enjoyable than having to stop for a deep tactical battle every 3 minutes. But when things get trickier, I love that you can press a button and immediately jump into turn-based. And the turn-based combat in Sky Remake is going to be light years beyond what was in the original game. It appears to have the same position-based special moves, and it might even have team-up attacks that we originally didn't fully get until Cold Steel. At least that is if I'm interpreting the trailers correctly. So that means more opportunities for the characters to interact with each other. And that's always a good thing in my book. If you've never played a Trails game, the graphics and gameplay of the remake will definitely not be a deterrent. I have a feeling you're gonna love them. The same can't necessarily be said for the original. Now, I say this as an enormous fan of the OG Trails in the Sky, but the graphics are extremely dated. I'm just not a fan of the way the characters look. It's a sort of, I don't know, the character models look like cheap toys to me. I'm not a fan. And the three-quarters perspective, like I mentioned, is not used very often in games anymore for a reason, I think. It's difficult to navigate. The gameplay, I will say, is still very good. I think the original Trails in the Sky battle system stands up remarkably well to even many modern RPGs, honestly. But it's definitely going to be a big step down from what the remake is offering. I'm sure this is the obvious con that most of you were waiting to see, so here it is. Trails in the Sky First Chapter is literally the first chapter of this game. There's a second chapter that's bigger, longer, and honestly where the majority of the action is. And the first game ends on what, in my mind, is one of the biggest cliffhangers in video game history. If you begin your Trails journey with the remake, what are you going to do when you hit that wall? Well, some might say, hey, you can just pick up Trails in the Sky SC on Steam or something. The original, I mean. And, well, sure, you could do that. But are you going to want to? You've just had a deep and involved emotional experience with this game. You've gotten to know these characters with their voices and animations and everything the modern remake is adding. And then you're just supposed to downgrade your experience to blurry JPEGs and plain text? That's asking a lot of anyone. But if you don't want to play the old version of the next game, your only choice is to just wait and wait and wait. Who knows when we'll see Trails in the Sky second chapter? I mean, honestly, I have a feeling they're working hard on turning that around quickly. They know as well as anyone how big that cliffhanger is. I mean, they wrote it. But still, any wait is too long of a wait when it comes to the next Trails game. That's why it might be worth your time to just dive into Trails in the Sky First Chapter right now via the original game on Steam. You can avoid the pain of the cliffhanger, finish up first chapter, dive right into second chapter, and boom, you're satisfied. You got to play a great game, and hey, you'll still want to grab the remake when it comes out anyway. If it were me, I know I definitely would have. I was starving for anything Trails related after I finished Sky way back in the day. Way back in the day. I'm old, guys. So old. I know there's a lot of debate on the internet about voice acting in games. Some people love the quality of English dubs we're getting these days, and other people are wrong. I'm kidding. Please don't unsubscribe. But regardless of what side you land on with the dub versus sub debate, I think it's generally agreed upon that the era of voice acting has been good for video game storytelling. While I'll always have a soft spot for text-only RPGs, I think the richness that's added to a character by their actor has an enormous impact. And that's something that I feel super strongly in the Trails series. The first 5 games were originally released as text only, though they were eventually re-released in Japan with Japanese voiceovers. Those voiceovers were retained for the US release of Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure, which prompted me to immediately turn the voice volume to 0. However, the only time we've heard characters from those first 5 games speak dialogue in English has been in the later games, Trails of Cold Steel and beyond. Now we actually get the opportunity to experience the richness of their stories with full voice work in English. Starting your Trails journey with the remake of Sky will give you that full, rich experience from the get-go. And because the voice actors are the same between games, except in the Japanese, I heard they replaced most of those actors. Sorry guys. There won't be incongruity messing with your experience as you move on to the later titles. Diving in straight away with the best presentation of the story isn't a bad idea, and that's more than likely going to come from the Trails in the Sky remake. This con is a bit harder to explain, but I'll do my best. A lot of the enjoyment I get from remakes of classic games is seeing how the remake differs from the original. There's a whole layer of context that you garner from having played and enjoyed the original version that you simply lack if you play the remake first. This isn't the best example, but it's the most current. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. Now, you can make a justifiable argument that Remake and Rebirth are not actually remakes, but are actually new entries in the Final Fantasy VII saga, and I think the debate about that will continue until long after the trilogy is complete, but taking them at face value as remakes, I can say firsthand that a big part of my enjoyment has been seeing the ways the remake trilogy has deviated from the original. Most of the changes, I'll admit, I really enjoy. There's something inherently interesting to me about a creator returning to a work they made a long time ago, back when they had far less experience as a creator, and using their experience to recontextualize that older work. This is upsetting for some people as they see the work as immutable, and I can understand that impulse, but I've always been creator focused, so it's fascinating for me to see a creator take another crack at something they made. I'm less enthused when a completely different set of creators tackle a remake, but that's a topic for another day. In the case of Trails in the Sky First Chapter, I'm glad that Falcom is able to take the brilliance of Trails in the Sky and apply their recently gained knowledge and expertise to it. It's a big win for us as fans of the series. But is there a part of that experience that you might miss out on if you start your Trails journey without the original game to reference? Maybe. Now, that might not matter to you, in which case this con isn't really a con at all, and I'm just some dork play acting as a philosopher on the internet. If you're at all like me though, and you enjoy the whole creator-creation dynamic, it would be very worth your time to experience Trails in the Sky in its original form before diving into the remake. One big caveat that I have to throw on any recommendation I might give you to check out the original Trails in the Sky is that it's only easily available on PC. Yeah, you can technically get it on PSP, the first chapter at least. I have it here. It cost me $1 billion. So do I recommend picking it up physically if you're new to the series? No. Your best bet is to grab it on Steam. Now, if you're a PC gamer, this is a no-brainer. In fact, chances are you probably bought it on sale at some point, some Steam summer sale, and forgot about it. It's probably in your library right now. Go look. But if you're not a PC gamer, you're kind of stuck. Like, Steam is pretty much it. Or, you know, GOG or other digital storefronts, not literally just Steam, but you get what I mean, PC. If you're a console-only player, then your choices are don't play Trails in the Sky at all, or start with Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. Given those two options, there's no question in my mind. Start with the remake. You can get it on almost every major console, so you have the flexibility to choose which platform is best for you. And of course, you can also get it on PC, so you have all bases covered. It's always been strange to me that we never got ports of the first 5 Trails games to modern platforms, but it is what it is. That means for non-PC players, the remake is without a doubt the way to begin. Like I said earlier, this game looks and sounds incredible. I'm 100% confident it will play incredibly too. It is precisely what I would have wanted a remake of the first game in the series to be. If you begin your Trails journey with Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake, I can pretty much guarantee you'll have a fantastic time. However, that means you could also be setting yourself up for future disappointment. If, God forbid, this game doesn't perform well, will Falcom really invest the time and money into remaking the next 4 titles to get them to parity with the rest of the series? My money's on no. So does starting with the remake potentially set you up for some disappointment in the future? Unfortunately, yes. Now, if I was a betting man, I'd say Falcom is already well into development of Trails in the Sky Second Chapter Remake, so I'm pretty confident we'll get that at least. But Sky the Third, the Crossbell duology, those I'm less sure about. If you set the bar this high from the very beginning, you have a long way to fall. Now, Trails fans, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Sky the Third and the Crossbell games are fantastic on their own merits. They don't become less fantastic just because they're not remade. But try to consider it from the perspective of a non-fan or a future fan. Does the graphical and gameplay downgrade become a stumbling point for them? Do they see the screenshots and think, I might get to it eventually, and then just forget about the series altogether? I don't know. I'd like to believe they'd all be hooked enough to stick it out regardless of the vintage of the games, but we live in an age where there are vastly more good video games in existence than we could ever play. I worry about those little things that might keep people from investing in a good experience, these sorts of optics that are superficial but still meaningful to someone on the outside. My point is this, starting with the OG Trails in the Sky, you avoid this potential outcome. If you fall in love with the series like one of us old-timers did, then your Trails experience won't ever be derailed by a game or arc never getting remade. Just some food for thought. Regardless of where you decide to begin your Trails journey, let me just say, welcome aboard. The more people who play these games and enjoy them, the better off we all are. Falcom deserves the financial success for creating these experiences for us, and we deserve to have a full and vibrant community to gush about them with. So where do you fall in this discussion? If you've played the Trails games, what would you recommend for a newcomer? And if you're considering jumping on board with Trails, what path do you think you'll take? Let me know down in the comments. Oh, also, check out my podcast, the JRPG Pursuit. We're going to be doing a lot of Trails-focused content as the summer comes to a close in preparation for Sky Remake, so you won't want to miss that. Anyway, with all that said, until next time, bye.